Hello, Serge here for the Backyard Driving Range. All right, we got a question that came into customer service, and this one comes from Roland Siegfried. And Roland says, "Hi, I read in your PPGS manual that the best way to start the backswing is by turning the hips, which then pulls the shoulders and arms and hands. I started doing this and my shots got much better. I also focused on extending the arms back into the catcher's mitt." He put pitcher's mitt, but that's catcher's mitt. "And that also helped a lot. Before I tried the hip turn, I was turning just the shoulders and trying to rotate the arms. My shots were inconsistent. My question is, should I continue doing the hip turn to start the backswing? It is working with me so far." Then he goes on to say, "I've been doing PPGS for 4 years and have maintained a 10 handicap. I'm 70 years old. I used to do the rotation swing, but my back could not take it anymore. Thank goodness I found your website and the PPGS. Otherwise, I would not be playing golf anymore. Thanks, Roland Siegfried." Thank you, Roland. I appreciate that comment, because that's the number one reason why we get folks here to the PPGS, the Peak Performance Golf Swing, because it is the only body-friendly swing, the only one that's founded in physics and physiology. And that's why it saved thousands and thousands and thousands of folks like you, and never mind the fact that some that had already quit. And it's actually helped some not even have to get back surgery, because they found this swing and they weren't even supposed to swing a golf club, or even putt, and they went out in the backyard and tried it before surgery, and they weren't feeling any pain. And so I've had a number of questions coming in. "Whoa, should I cancel the surgery?" I say, "No, I'm the swing surgeon, not the back surgeon. You need to go call your back surgeon. But I'll send this off to mine, Dr. Armstrong, and we'll see what we get." And he says the same thing every time. Go talk to your surgeon and tell him what's happening. And most of them will be smart enough to say, "Well, okay, let's test it and see." All right? But what's the situation here? Let me go and read you something from the manual. This was copied off the manual, page 62 of the Peak Performance Golf Swing Foundations Manual, and it's about the backswing. It says, "You can achieve the true one-piece takeaway by turning your hips and shoulders around your spine." See, I had to come in here and do this and read it, because you said that you read the manual and it said to turn your shoulders. The shoulders and hips go together. And I actually say that it's the right hip and the right shoulder that do it. By turning your hips and shoulders around your spine, setting the arms and club in motion. Why? Because the center of gravity, the core, is a point located at the base of your spine in the area of the hips. This is the center of gravity of your body. Okay? The center of gravity of the swing is the top of the spine. All right? So your body center of gravity is right here, say at your belt buckle, behind your belly button, and then the center of gravity is the top of your spine, which when we go in the mitt and lift the arms up the tree, the arms, which are the rocket string symbolism, I'm holding a rock on the end of a string and I'm swinging it in my hand. Well, this is the fulcrum, this is the center point right here. It's of where the rock's connected, but it comes to where? In my backswing, it lifts right up to the very top of my spine, because we swing the arm right underneath the chin, because we stand with a nice high head and swing under the chin. And guess what? On this side, this is the string is the shaft, the left arm in the shaft, or the lead arm in the shaft, and the rock is the club head. So in the symbolism of that, the left arm and forward arm for a right-hander is the string from the takeaway to impact, and then from impact to the finish, the right arm becomes the string, because now it comes up and touches the center in the tee finish. Okay? The center of gravity of the swing is the top of the spine, and the shoulders with a waggle wheel for plain rest. So now you see why motion must begin in the hips and shoulders, and the spine must stay stable. All right? Another way to picture this inside-out chain of motion is by considering a waggle wheel. So again, the waggle wheel is resting on our head, and we're swinging on that waggle wheel up, down, and back up. Okay? So I can go on with that. And it says, "The movement begins at the center of the hub. The instant the hub moves, the farthest extremity of the outer rim moves. And depending on the length of the spokes, the outer rim moves much farther and much faster than the club. The takeaway is exactly the same, except that your torso acts as the hub and the club head as the outer rim swings on the outside of the rim, on the wheel. Now, I keep stressing the role of the hips during the takeaway, because I believe that they are the key factor. Here's an exercise that proves the dominance of the hips over the hands, the arms, and even the shoulders. Stand erect. Turn your shoulders to the right, taking notice of how far you can turn your shoulders before your hips begin to rotate. So in other words, you're going to have the outward pressure in your knees, and you just try to turn your shoulders. and then at the same time you're feeling your hips. And it says, turn your shoulders to the right, taking notice of how far you can turn your shoulders before your hips begin to respond to the move. The more supple you are, the longer it takes for your hips to respond. Leaving your shoulders immobile or neutral, turn your hips to the right while watching the correspondence movement of your shoulders. So again, you're going to do it just with your shoulders, then you're going to do it with your hips. And see if one has more of a force over the other one. And I think it's obvious. You can turn your shoulders a little bit farther before it'll pull your hips, but you almost cannot even begin to move your hips without it already, if you're letting things natural, that your shoulders will start to respond. So I really believe that the answer here is in the concept of the takeaway into the mitt and up the tree. I feel like I want to start by my right hip and my right shoulder, and I might even say I'll even tie my right knee in with my right hip, that the whole right side just starts to go like this. Like one of my drills is you take a clipboard or a tray or whatever, and you just turn like this to get it going. All right, we keep everything together. Another one is you stand here like this. I think this is another great proof. Put your club like this and just start it to go this way and up. And if you make a good turn and up, it should always come back down. All right. But so I want the right knee, the right hip, and the right shoulder. If you don't want to think about the knee, just think about the hip and the shoulder. The second they start to move, they move together. But my final thought in this whole process is that even though I'm starting with the right hip and right shoulder, I want to feel like that movement's going to move the toe to club first. All right. So my goal is to feel like, even though this moves first, that I want to feel like it's really causing that to move first, going back into the mid toe up. Now I've been on some of the most technical scientific machines that can measure things like 1,000th of a second, and as much as I try to feel like I'm moving that head first, my hip and shoulder has been proved every time to move that 1,000th of a second or whatever it is before the club. But to the naked eye, they almost look exactly at the same time. But in my mind, I'm always starting from the right hip and shoulder, maybe including the right knee, and I'm always feeling that moves first. So let us not just focus on the shoulder or focus on the hip. We want to focus on all three. Think of your body as 3 blocks. Ankles to knees, knees to hip, hips to shoulders. They're all kind of connected, especially these two, because the bottom of the top box is the hips, and the hips become the top of the bottom box of the middle box, which is the hips to the knees. Okay? And so that's the main one. So that's why I think you tie these two together at the least, and maybe throw that one in if you want. They all start together. Everything moves, and the feeling is to move the toe first. Do that, and you'll be making great takeaways at a much better pace, much better consistency, timing, everything, and you're starting in more solid and straight and shooting those lower scores. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be speaking with you all again soon.